Good morning, I am Miss Leigh-Ann from the Carbondale Public Library, and this is part of our Winter Challenge Reading Takes You Places series. Now, this coming week, we are going to be visiting North America. So, on our map here that I've been using, we have, North America here, and it includes this part, which is typically called Central America, which is part of North America. And I'll zoom in a little bit so you can have a better look. The first thing I'm going to do is tell you about some books that I have to share with you, and then we are going to do a craft. So the book series that I have been using, it's a continent book series. The North America one didn't get here yet. So I'm going to show you two other nonfiction books. We have Where is the Grand Canyon? Written by Jim O'Connor, and published by Penguin Workshop. It's part of the Where Is series. And so you can learn lots of things about the Grand Canyon. Do you know where the Grand Canyon is? The Grand Canyon is in Arizona, in the United States. So another U.S. book I have is National Parks Guide USA. And it is by Sarah Waisner Flynn, published by National Geographic. And this breaks down the United States into different regions and highlights a lot of the national parks. And we have a lot of wonderful national parks in the United States. There's also a lot of state parks too that are nice. So our chapter book is When Life Gives You Mangoes by Karine Gettin. And this is published by Delacorte Press. And we have the girl right here. Her name is Clara D. Henson. And after a hurricane, she can't remember things. So you'll have to go on her journey and see if she can start remembering what happened during that hurricane. And this takes place on the island of Jamaica. On another island, we have Raffi and Rosie by Lulu Delacree, published by Harper Trophy. This is a leveled reader, and it takes place on the island of Puerto Rico. And so you get a chance to learn about different animals in Puerto Rico, and let's see, what else do they learn? There's actually a couple of stories that it breaks it down into, a few stories, and this also gives you some Spanish words here. So you can learn some new words in another language and learn about another place. And I have another U.S. book, it's kind of related to the other ones, and it's Laura Bush and Jenna Bush Hager are the writers, and this is called Our Great Big Backyard, and it's published by HarperCollins Children's. And this, a family takes a trip. It's a picture book, and the family takes a trip around the United States to the different national parks. So that's pretty cool. And the one girl, she doesn't really want to go. She'd rather be with her friends. But you'll have to see. I think by the end, I think she really has a good time. So before we get to our craft, I want to remind you to visit our virtual library. And this is what you'll see when you get to the North American page. And it features virtual tours on the maps. It features some of our e-resources. And then there's books down here that will link to the catalog. So there is a lot to see. You can access this on our website and just right above the calendar. So I hope you will visit and take a virtual tour. Okay, so now we are going to do our craft. Now, our craft is going to be, it's called an inukshuk. They are stone structures in northern Canada. There's some in Alaska and Greenland, and they were built by the Inuit. So I'm going to show you what you'll need, and as we work on the project, I'll tell you a little bit more about the inukshuks. So the materials you'll need paper. You'll need one background paper. You will need other paper that's either gray, brown, or white paper that you color. So I have gray paper here, but the paper I'm going to use for my project is paper that I colored. And I colored it like a brown gray because we want it to look like stone and rocks. So rocks can be brown, they can be gray, they can be brownish gray. And then you'll need something to decorate your background with. So you can use crayons, you can use watercolors, colored pencils, markers, tissue paper. You can rip up construction paper to do a background. So use whatever you have. And now I'm going to zoom in and show you how I made mine. But keep in mind that you can swap out materials and use what you have. So I'm going to flip my paper over and show you the background I did. I colored mine. I did a blue sky and I did like a brownish grayish bottom to be like a rocky bottom. You can do whatever you could add mountains if you want. You could do grass. You could add trees in the background if you want. So it's your project and you can do the background any way you want. But keep in mind, you're going to be gluing some pieces on top. So you want to make sure that you'll be able to see the pieces you're going to do. Like I said, I used white scrap paper that I colored, and I colored it like a brown in the background, and then I went over it with gray to give it a brownish gray. And then I cut them out for different stone shapes. Now, inukshuks are just built from the stones that are found in the area. So each one is different because it depends on the kind of stones that are found. What an inukshuk does, it marks a spot. So it helps create a landmark. Because when you're up in northern Canada and there's a lot of ice, there's really not many landmarks to tell where you are. So that's one thing that the inukshuks were used to help navigate. So what you're going to do is after you cut out your pieces, you can stack them and create a landmarker. See, I didn't even use all my papers. And I really only used not even a full sheet, or half a paper. Something else that they marked was maybe a good hunting or fishing spot and sacred places. One thing to be aware of, if you ever get a chance to visit an area that has these, do not touch them, do not destroy them. It is forbidden to destroy an inukshuk. Now, if you see one that's shaped like a person, sometimes they're called inukshuks, but that's not what they're supposed to be called. They're supposed to be called an anun. Okay, and I apologize for pronunciation. An inukwag or an inukwat. And those mean it's an imitation of a person or a pretend person. And like I said, that's what the ones that look like people are. So sometimes you'll hear them called inukshuks, but you can say that's not really what they're called. And you can tell them that it's called one that looks like a person is called an inukwag. Okay. So you can see it's a pretty simple project, but you can play around with your pieces and see how you like them before you glue them on. And that's one thing I did forget to mention, you'll need glue. You'll glue on your pieces. Let's see if I have any other interesting facts I could tell you why I'm gluing it on. A nunguag was used for the Olympic symbol when the Olympics were in Vancouver in 2010. Now some people, and as I mentioned how sometimes they're mistakenly called inukshuks, that one they did call it an inukshuk, but it really wasn't an inukshuk, it was an inuguanquag. And I'm really sorry about my pronunciation. When you make yours, you can do whichever version you want. You can do an inukshuk or a inuguag. There we go. And that's a land marker. So since there's nothing else on that land to see where you are, and they'll know by seeing this where they are. And since each one is different, they can tell that they're in a certain place. So I hope you have fun with this project, and next week we are going to take a trip to South America. All right, have a good week. Bye.